Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third time flies, third edition of Backstory, an evening of true stories, poetry, and flights of fancy. My name is Carl Weintraub. I'll be your host, and this month's theme is Fool for Love. The other day, I told my sister she had a nice ass. That's the closest I've ever gotten to incest. No, wait. I married a woman once who had the same birthday as me, so that felt kind of like marrying myself, because that was kind of like incest. Right? But I've married a lot of women. And when I say married, I don't actually necessarily mean standing before an altar or, under a chuppah, for that matter. I mean making that commitment of everlasting love, which is what we do with our siblings, right? Yeah. And actually, one of the women I made this commitment to, and who I have children with, who's sitting right there, I feel now like she's my sister. She's an attractive woman. But having sex with her would be, she's like my sister. she goes, I shouldn't say I've married a lot of women. Just more than my share, but like 4 or 5. I've been with a lot of women. Before I got married the last time, I should say before I got married for the last time to my wonderful Lori, who's the one who kept me despite all of my foolishness. Before we got married, I thought that it would be a good idea for me to make a list of all the women I'd been with, so I wouldn't forget. Why? You ask me?
Why?
I can't deny that I needed to have written proof of my youthful virility. But more than that, I didn't want any of them to be meaningless. They all meant something. They all, every one of them was special. Every one of them gave me something, even if it was just crabs or venereal disease. What they gave me was, they gave me a sense of myself. It's hard not to be yourself in the act of coitus. I mean, we guys, we're all trying for some kind of a performance when we're doing it, but still, it's hard to hide things about yourself when you're in the throes. It's also hard to try to make things real that aren't truly there. And truly, I probably never really gave any of them my heart, probably not even the women I loved. I had a buddy when I was a young man, a good buddy, a real good buddy, who gave it away every time he kissed a girl. Just gave his heart away, and she'd take it and she'd throw it on the ground, and she'd step on it, she'd kick it all over the parking lot and pick it up and hand it back to him, and he'd put it back together, and he'd give it to somebody else. I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be able to take that kind of a chance. I wanted to be able to take that kind of a leap. And I don't think it's about being afraid. I think it's about not being afraid enough. One night when I was in college, coming out of a girl's apartment I had been with, and got down into my car, and there was this little black dog in the back seat. And I reached back to pet it, and it shied away from me. It just sat there shivering, and I've never seen a being in such a state of utter, unmitigated fear. And yet he made the jump. He made that leap, not knowing where he'd land or what would be there when he hit. And I think that's the kind of fear you have to possess or be possessed of to make that leap. And that's the leap you got to make into love. You really have to want it that bad, so bad that you're willing to risk your heart and soul to get it. How many times have we made that leap and ended up broken on the rocks, right? How many times have we made that leap and found ourselves cushioned in the waiting arms of somebody kind? I think the answer to those two questions is what defines us. When I was talking at the beginning of the evening, I think I made it sound like I believed that it was fear that allowed us to take that leap into love. But that's not exactly what I meant. What I meant was that we get so full of shit, so full of history and scars and trophies and loves and fears that we find it hard to break out of ourselves and see what's right there in front of us, see what's really beautiful, see what's really frightening. But by the time I hit my 40s, I couldn't take that leap because I was so full of shit, so full of myself. I didn't need a woman's love. I had my kids and my own self-loathing, which is as narcissistic as self-love, easily. And I was getting laid. A woman would have just been another appendage. At the point I met Lori, I had 3 kids to take care of. I mean, there was no room for a woman in that equation. And I'd fallen in love and gotten married enough times to know that it hurt. And anyway, I'd be much better at courtly love. I could love Lori hopelessly and from afar. That's the kind of pain I could handle. It would be a fool's choice to jump again into that known unknown, take another chance on love. I mean, if anybody needed love, it was my children, and that's the point, see? Do we ever stop being children? I mean, the toughest of us, the most full of shit of us, has that little kid down, sitting there inside like that little black dog shivering in my back seat, needing to make that crazy leap, needing to take that crazy chance, needing to be a fool for love.